Celeste is my favorite game of all time. I think it represents a perfect harmony between gameplay systems and narrative, the two working together to create something greater than the sum of their parts. It tells the story of Madeline, a young woman who is grappling with her mental health. Feeling confused and purposeless, she decides to climb Celeste Mountain. That climb represents Madeline's struggle, and as the player, you walk every step of it with her. The game works to teach you the same lesson that Madeline learns. Get up. Keep trying. This setback isn't forever. It makes a compelling argument for games as art. Gameplay and narrative working together in a way that could not be done anywhere else. And because of this, I think it's uniquely well suited to discussing mental health. You don't just watch Madeline overcome her challenges, you overcome them with her. You take those actions on behalf of her, and because of that, it connects you with the story in a way that no book or TV show ever could. It's also incredibly mechanically sophisticated. The controls, in my view, are perfect. The level design is so intricate. I have played a lot of 2D platformers, and in my opinion, Celeste is the tightest and most well-designed platformer around. I love Celeste. It is one of my favorite games, but am I sure that it's my favorite? What do I mean when I claim that a game is my favorite game? Is Celeste the game that I've had the most fun with? Well, no, it's not. If I'm being honest, I haven't beaten all of the B-sides. I haven't beaten the Farewell DLC. Is it the game that's impacted me the most? It's close, but also probably not. And if we're going to say that my favorite game should be the one that I have enjoyed the most, well, that would be... Slay the Spire tore through me. It felt like an addiction when I first stumbled upon it. I stopped myself from playing Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon TCG because I knew they would become a financial burden on my life. But Slay the Spire removed all of my inhibitions and I fell headfirst into it. It is expertly balanced, genuinely challenging, and unbelievably rewarding to learn. Because it is unyieldingly challenging, the first time you try it, it seems impossible to overcome. But the longer you play it, you find the cracks in the design and you learn to force them open. Building a good deck in Slay the Spire feels like breaking the game, but the game feels so difficult you feel like you need to break it just to beat it. It is such an exciting and rewarding gameplay loop. The deck building mechanics drew me in, and the powerful synergy potentials kept me coming back over and over and over. Slay the Spire has been a near constant companion in my life. I have it on my phone, and if I'm waiting around for a couple of minutes anywhere, I just find myself starting up run after run after run. I have put hundreds of hours into this game, and I regret none of them. So why don't I call Slay the Spire my favorite game? It's probably the game that I've had the most fun with. It's definitely the game that I've put the most hours into, and it's probably the game that I've talked to people about the most. So if you ask what game impacted me the most, it's Citizen Sleeper. What game I liked most as a child, it would be Pokemon Soul Silver. Slay the Spire has brought me the most joy, and Celeste feels like an impressive work of art. So what am I saying when I choose one of these games to be my favorite? As humans, we are talented at self-delusion. We are full of biases and preconceptions. I'm not sure that I could, with any genuine accuracy, call one game my favorite. Maybe this isn't the case for you. Maybe it sticks out so obviously that there is only one game that you would ever call your favorite. But given the number of incredible games I have played recently, I honestly find it hard to pin down a single one. When I say that a particular game is my favorite, I am making a statement about what I value in a game. In a Medium article that I will link below, Casey Yano, who's one of the designers of Slay the Spire, described it as a chicken noodle soup game. What does he mean by this? He's talking about games that are kind of like a daily driver, something you return to, but hundreds and hundreds of hours into. Maybe you're into a multiplayer game, something that you come home and log onto with your friends every single evening. Maybe a roguelike game that you return to for run after run. Maybe something open-ended and sandboxy like Minecraft, or a comfort game like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing. One of my coworkers said that Animal Crossing New Leaf was their favorite game of all time, and I remember feeling that was, wrong? New Leaf, though fun, isn't a designed experience. It's comforting, peaceful, designed for you to keep returning to it. A lot of the engagement and fun is player-directed, you designing your village. It was like saying that Minecraft was your favorite game. I don't feel like there's design on display. I have the impulse that a game that isn't tightly and intricately designed shouldn't be called your favorite, but why do I make that assertion? I feel like a chicken noodle soup game is like a comfort food, and I have this gut impulse to not call a comfort food my favorite food, but why not? It's insane for me to invalidate someone else's favorite game, or even to disqualify a game from being my favorite just because it doesn't meet the criteria for what I believe a favorite game should be. I don't think it should be disqualified because it's not artistic enough, and what's to say that my opinion on what counts as artistic is meaningful anyway? In the end, all that this thinking reveals about me is, why have I, whenever asked, called Celeste my favorite game? I like it a lot, and what I said is true. It is one of my favorite games of all time. It's one of the best designed platformers ever, and it tells one of the best stories in gaming. It is a game that's very meaningful to me and others, but I think the reason that I call it my favorite game is that it sounds good. I have a little spiel about how good Celeste is, how it represents gaming as an art form, and that is true. But deep down, in my heart of hearts, I just don't know that Celeste is my favorite game. Ultimately, choosing your favorite game feels like a form of critique. You are choosing what to value, what you preference over something else. It's a statement about what you think gaming should be. I am making a statement about what I consider meaningful when I say that Celeste is my favorite game. With Celeste, I feel like I'm trying to come up with the correct answer to the question of what my favorite game is. It says something about what I value in games. I want games to be respected as an art form. I want artful and interesting games, and Celeste reflects those values in me. I do think that striving to praise artful and meaningful games is a good thing. I think it will lead to positive change in the gaming industry, to games that better reflect our preferences as players. But I think that I've been putting forward a game as my favorite that simply isn't. And I also think that my view here is narrow. By putting Celeste forward as the most artful and meaningful game, I think I'm ignoring the mechanical sophistication of a game like Slay the Spire. Though it doesn't have a narrative in the same way that Celeste does, there is something artistically beautiful in its balance, in its design, in the synergies that you can create. I also think that I'm minimizing the storytelling on display in other games that I like, games like Citizen Sleeper or Disco Elysium. So, if my perspective on what my favorite game is so flawed and confused, if I myself am so uncertain, how do any of us go about choosing our favorite game? I think it's important to note that I am taking this unnecessarily seriously. I love lists. I love rankings. I like thinking about the things that I consume, comparing them to one another. There's just something exciting about it. And maybe controversially, I just love top 10 lists. I love rankings. It's silly, but it's also fun. It's a good fodder for discussion, and it's a good way to encourage people to try new things. So, my favorite game shouldn't feel like a throwaway answer. It's a recommendation that I can give to others that in some small way shapes the video game landscape for the better. So after all of that, how do we go about choosing a favorite? I like to think about how we experience art at two levels. First, the reader level, how that individual work of art impacts us personally. And then also the structural level, the technical artistry on display. Everyone will weigh these things differently, but I believe that a good favorite game should balance both of these parts. I believe that we should be critical. I think that we should take a close eye to things we love and we should evaluate them. But I also think that some things impact us in a unique way because of our circumstances. I cannot separate my opinion on Pokemon Soul Silver from my childhood. I cannot separate my opinion on Citizen Sleeper from the fact that it reignited my interest in games after it had been waning. I can't separate my love of Slay the Spire from long train rides to and from university. It's easy to get this wrong in one direction or another, to be too clinical and critical, or to be too drawn along by hype, nostalgia, and experience. I think that the games industry is best when we value meaningful and artistic games, but I also think that games are inherently an experiential art form. So if this confused, rambly video has a point, it's this. Think critically about the games you love, but also value your individual experience as a player. If a game has impacted you, try to articulate why and share that with others, because that is the magic of the medium that we love. That is what makes games a beautiful art form and what will appeal to others about it. As gamers, we should value our own subjectivity, but we shouldn't discard our ability to think critically, to justify our opinions. So, after all of this fumbling around, what is my favorite game? I have been thinking about this and tossing it up the whole time that I've been scripting this. I've been turning it over in my head while I have been recording, and I have landed on a simple answer. My favorite game is Hades. I'm like every other guy. All of us are the same. All of us nerds who like Greek mythology and writing, we all like Hades, okay? It's Hades! Thank you for watching this, and thank you for watching the last video. I'm honestly floored by the number of people who have seen that. I really appreciate those of you who have just clicked on this, or those who moved over from the TikToks. I value you all. Thank you.